Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial. I am still your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi, and I go by my swan on the internet. I am, of course, by the unprecedented talent that is brought to me by some of my closest friends of the Hapgood brothers, initialized in Nymera. Please, as always, introduce yourselves.
I am an unparalleled talent. It is true.
Don't stroke your ego too much.
Thank you for acknowledging that. There's no shame in admitting the truth.
I'm glad someone recognizes it.
Oh, God.
It's very true. It's important that our talent is recognized.
Absolutely.
I mean, I am your host, producer, co-host of the podcast.
And hype man.
Oh, hype bro, man. All of it, all in one. We are going to be facing off for our fourth and final game, the 8th game of week 4 of the LJL. This is officially now, we are out of the halfway point now. It is only the end now, and playoffs should be coming into mind for these teams.
Big time.
Burning Core are running on a hot streak, the second largest hot streak in the league now, just behind Detonation Focus Me. That's some really big tail to be running behind, and Burning Core are doing a damn good job so far. Currently 3-0, potentially 4-0. I do need to double check my standings, but rather difficult without spoilers coming out, and I don't want to be spoiled, so I'm not gonna have it done.
So the curse of doing things slightly retrospectively, but you know, we get to see some really good games in a time zone where we're actually like lucid enough to tell what's happening.
Yes.
So that's nice.
And as we're coming into this game as well, gotta give some props to Rascal Jester, who put up a pretty decent fight against DFM.
Yep.
At least with some of their set plays. There was, and by set plays, I don't mean about the champion set. I mean about set as in some of the setup plays. There we go. That's a better way of phrasing it. That's more complicated now that champion's in the game.
What?
But of course, there was a slight issue in that their side lanes, their 1-3-1 didn't work out quite right. The DFM got big advantages in the side lanes.
They did.
But they have things that they can take from that last game and try and bring into this one. And hopefully they can compete as well as they did against DFM with Burning Core to slightly better results.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Rascal Jester had another interesting composition. I think they, for the first time, they played around the mid lane as opposed to any other lane. I'm not sure I particularly like playing around Ninja instead of Art. I think Art has been such a consistent carry for them that it's unwise to ignore him and put him onto kind of the secondary carry duty of Ezreal. But that game never really came down to team fights. There was one team fight, and that went very badly from them. Very, very badly. Detonation Focus Me just wiped them, ended the game, and that was all she wrote, really.
Yeah.
DFM, again, it is DFM. And these are guys which can just stunt all of your winning plays. They can just say, hey, I know exactly how you win this game if it was going to go like this, so we're going to do everything we can to stop doing that. We saw that against Sengoku with the Olaf.
Yep.
We saw that against here just now, right? We've seen them do these 1-3-1 kind of styles where they know their lane assignments are good enough to close out a game. So what Rascal Jester now have to do now is to show that they can, at least try and take it to another team which isn't DFM. See if it's just DFM that can make them worry, or if the other teams can too.
Well, Burning Core has been a team that has shown very much since week 2 that they understand how to play around the map, arguably just as good against any team they've had to face so far. Burning Core have obviously been playing this mid-game very strong, and when they get ahead, they do exactly like the Hawks and DFM. They don't let you come back at all. They want the lead, and they will keep it forever. And an important place that I'm really going to be watching heavily isn't going to be this bot lane this time. It's actually going to be on this top lane. Ray Farkey and Once, this top jungle combination is really going to be testing for the Jesters, especially for Kog and Hachimecha. Hachimecha's going to have to pull overtime, I feel like, now for this time for the Jesters, because he's going to need to be everywhere, whereas Once has that pressure just because of his lanes, thankfully, whereas Hachimecha kind of has to try and do everything as arguably their kind of secondary star player on the team after Art.
And I mean, there is also just this issue, like, last game wasn't fun for Kog. Like, his lane nearly cost Rascal Jesters the game earlier on in that level. He was level 4 to level 1, couldn't get anywhere near to the wave. He was struggling with it, and Hachimecha came and bailed him out. And we'll have to see whether Ray Farkey is going to try and pull off similar stuff this time around. Cog, probably wanting to have a better performance than he did in the last game.
Which is going to be interesting to see. It's going to be... I'm more interested to see what they're going to ban out from the Jester side into Burning Core. I do think Burning Core have some specific picks they do like playing. Ornn is definitely a pick from Ray Farkey I can expect. Set as well. Are they going to target the top lane? Are they going to potentially focus Yuhi or Raki? It's going to be interesting because a lot of these players have one or two comfort picks.
It's difficult because there are quite a lot of must-ban picks right now. There's Ornn, there's Aphelios, there's Soraka. Yeah. There are a couple of others hanging around as well. A lot of the time, you don't like people getting their hands on LeBlanc. I mean, Roki has been pretty good on that pick as well.
He has.
Victor as well for him.
Sure, there's Victor and stuff when you kind of fall down a bit more into it. But there are a lot of picks where it's more like they're just really good blind picks, and it means that you can never abuse that lane, right?
True.
Set being one of them. As much as the Ornn was a first pick, actually, for one of the first times we saw Ornn getting absolutely manhandled in lane. But is that an Ebby thing, or is that a top lane champion thing?
Yeah. And also, like, I think probably for my answer to that question, I do think that Yuhi's best performance had been on Aphelios. Otherwise, he's been rather quiet. So I can just see, like,
his
just
keeping game earlier was pretty good.
It was okay.
It was pretty good.
It was
with the Aphelios,
the Aphelios outshines because of the ults he's done on Aphelios versus the few MF games he's had. But I think his last game on MF was very good.
Was serviceable, I agree. And, like...
Hard to please.
I am. It's very...
Play by play, if he's not always talking about them, he loses interest rather quickly.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Like, if you're not pulling off montage reels on a regular basis, then are you even a player? It's the reason CGA are clearly the best team in this league. But no, like, so I could see potentially a bit of focus down towards Yuhi being a potential answer. We'll see whether that does play out.
And we will find out very shortly, as I think it's about time for us to go into pick and ban phase for our fourth and final game of the day and the 8th game of the split of this week, rather, not the split. God, that'd be...
I thought we'd done a lot more games than
God, that'd be week 1. Oh God, no, we're
quite a
way into this now. With over 30 games we've done now, lads.
Doing well. Pretty happy about that.
We're doing good. With that in mind, I think it's about time we get onto that pick and ban phase and I start being more quiet. So in 3, 2, 1, let's go on to the Rift and good luck to both these teams.
As always, thank you so much for hosting, and we are now into Champion Select. So it is Burning Core back on the Rift, and they are over on the blue side. It's Ray Farkey in the top lane. Once who had that killer Lee Sin game last time out in the jungle, it's Rocky in mid lane. Yuhi and Proud will take up the mantle of the bot laners.
And once again on the red side for the second time today. Actually, that's not true at all. They were on the blue side earlier. For the first time on the red side, second time today that we've seen them play. Top lane Cog, jungle Hachimecha, mid lane Ninja, bot lane Art, and support Vivid for the Rascal Jesters.
No surprises in the band so far. Soraka, Ornn, and Zoe out for Burning Core, and Aphelios and Yumi out for Rascal Jester.
And Burning Core banning away a lot of things which are first pick worthy.
That's very true. I was about to say not a surprise, and then I realised that's over on blue side.
That's the thing, right? So normally you see a lot of these on the red side.
What are they going for? Set, maybe?
They could be going towards a set first pick. But it's really a little bit odd, so I'm not necessarily sure what they want to pick, because they have banned away a lot of stuff which would be normally a first pick viable option.
I'm very much with you. That is going to look towards that set, potentially. Yep, locked in. Ray Farkey has claimed it.
It's the return of the first pick set. We saw this a lot during the early weeks of the LJL. Slowly fell off as things like Ornn, Soraka, and a lot of other picks started kind of gain prominence. So we'll see what Rascal Jester want to take into that matchup, which will presumably be in the top lane, has occasionally gone towards the mid lane. It's Rumble locked in for the Jesters. First time for us today. It's actually the Rumble Jarvan. Very big combo.
Yeah, frying pan combo available. That's going to be a big one, and we'll see what the rest of it was going to be. Could, of course, be a Rumble in the mid lane. Could be in that support role. We'll see where that potentially gets flexed to. I mean, there's always an opportunity for go top, but I doubt it. Once going back to that Lee Sin, had a great game on it last time around, but Proud won't be supporting him on the Yumi this time, so maybe a little less obnoxious than it was the first game.
Yeah, but it was still a good mechanical Lee Sin game. Yeah, so this Rumble could be top, could be mid, could be support. Art loves to play Ashe. Ashe Rumble is a very good lane in itself, very high poke lane. On the other side, we see the Misfortune locked in for Yuhi once more.
Yeah, it is going to be the response of the
Ezreal.
Ezreal Art's second Ezreal game. He's one of those old school Ezreal players, knows what he's doing on the champion. Looked fine on it the last game, but never really managed to pull too much off outside of like. There was good macro moves from Rascal Jester's last game, if you know what I mean. But like, I didn't see. They never really managed to pull off the poke combo outside that great mid lane.
I would have really liked to see an Ashe there instead of an Ezreal locked in. I'm just saying that right now. I guess Art does like the champion. Wait, the LJL has always liked Ezreal.
Yes,
always
that's very
has.
true.
But Art was performing pretty well on the Ashe and didn't really get a shout last game. So it didn't really have a show in to do much on the Ezreal.
So we were talking about it just before the game about whether we might look at Rocky's champion pool, and lo and behold, that appears to be a LeBlanc and a Victor ban away from Rocky. So he will not be getting a hand on the champions, which he's looked pretty good on so far this split.
Whereas it's the Braum and the Mordecai are two pretty beefball champions taken away from the Rascal Jesters, which it seems that Burning Core thought that Mordekaiser will be going into top lane against the set. Rumble has more often been seen in mid than top lane nowadays, or any other role really, so wise to ban away a couple of top lane champions. So Nautilus being hovered.
Yeah, and of course, that one game where Art went kind of 6-0 and 17 or whatever on Ashe was largely enabled by Vivid's Nautilus, who, you know, has been playing some pretty stellar Nautilus games throughout the split so far, even if they are only 2 and 5 as a team. See what the response is for the last two picks in Burning Core. They've still got support and realistically a mid lane to go for, so not entirely sure where they might go. There is still Thresh, there's still Leona. Not entirely sure. Maybe something like a Tom Kench, I suppose, is another opportunity, but I doubt that.
There's Thresh available, which I think they'll go for.
Azir.
So the Azir's locked in the mid lanes. That's a very good primary carry for the side of Burning Core, alongside the team fight damage of Misfortune as well. Gives them some pretty good wombo if you get a shuffle into a bullet time.
It's another one of those sort of like control mages with a fair amount of like lane control if they so wish it. So something like not dissimilar to a Victor, I guess.
I would disagree with that.
I mean, like in terms of champion class, it's a Morgana. All right, you'll run me through that later. That's probably fair.
Yeah,
I mean, the control mages.
Azir has the ability to reposition.
That's
on the
true.
Fly.
Okay, no, you're fine.
They both scale pretty well, but they scale differently in different situations. Because Victor has a lot of instant burst.
So my initial reaction was swiftly shut down by my color caster. Unhappy with that. Unhappy with my read there.
So, in case you didn't know,
no, they've done it. All right, there's the Kale locked in. That'll be going into the set.
Yeah, that's the color caster version of the missing ping onto your co-caster. It is the Kale locked in. Could be into the set in the top lane. We talked about this a little bit on I'm trying to remember if it was the second podcast episode that we did. I think it was that when we talked a little bit about meta stuff. When we saw the first couple of weeks, Kale being picked up quite a lot into the set. Obviously, the Jesters wanted to return back to that. Does give them some late game insurance, but when you're against the likes of the Azir and also having the Morgana for the binding means that Kale can be quite susceptible to getting picked off in a couple of these fights.
Yeah, could well be. On the other hand, there's a pretty nice combo between the Kale R coming down on the Jarvan as he flag and drags in, and then the Nautilus top exactly. So there's definitely some room for some decent combos to get that Divine Judgment in and in play.
The problem I have is that you're playing against Wraith Arky, who can just shuffle away that same person with the Kale ult, right?
Yes.
And Wraith Arky on the set is pretty good at this champion. So I don't know if your laning phase is going to go as smoothly as you would like it to because of the prowess of that top laner for Burning Core. But we have some pretty unique compositions once again today. We've seen a lot of very different picks.
Indeed, we have. And Kale returns. It's seen a little bit more success over in other regions, and we've seen some wins on that champion into the set. Nuguri over in the LCK, notoriously actually having some pretty good games on that champion.
But, I mean, that player is also just very coin flip. Sometimes brings out the best mechanical performances that you can see. Sometimes ints a little bit. We'll see what Cog does this game. Obviously, the game, when a Kale is in it, does tend to revolve around that champion to some extent, whether she is strong or whether she is decidedly not. So, yeah, there's a lot of varying ways and varying lanes to affect for both these junglers. So, Hatcher, Metro, and Once will have to think through their options very carefully headed into this game.
Yeah, I'm also going to want to be keeping an eye on that bot lane. There is a bit of a kill combo between a Morgana binding into something like that Misfortune bullet time. Yes, there's a Nautilus, But if someone gets caught and they haven't had a chance to build up any resists, could get blown up quite swiftly.
Yeah, and Morgana is one of these mage supports that we talk about, being able to abuse some of the melee engaged supports in the likes of Tahm-Kench, Braum, and Nautilus. Braum, okay, not being an engaged support, but the melee supports which aren't so damaging themselves, so as opposed to something like Leona.
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean about Braum. Like, he does have ways to at least pseudo-engage.
He can jump forward and then Q, but then...
and there's Glacial Fissure if you flash for it, that kind of thing. But yes, not easily done.
But anyway, regardless of that, Morgana has ways to play around all of these champions and has a lot of damage. Just
Indeed.
generally has a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And when you're playing against something which is like an Ezreal doesn't always have the highest burst damage either. When you compare it to something like a Senna and a Phalios, or another crit carry. Something like a Zyra as well is pretty good against the Morgana as well. We saw that from Axes, I think, in the other games that we covered a few days ago, in the first 4 games of Week 4. But yeah, Morgana, if she manages to win lane, becomes unlocked and can just roam around the map with impunity. Is this going to be another level 1 set play?
He's in the bush. I think he might be thinking about it. It's definitely something we have seen before. We've seen Ebby pull it off in 2 games and make other top laners truly, truly miserable. But currently, not seeing a lot. No CS taken. Looking like it might well be that little bit of shenanigans going along the top side. At least, of course, Cog will probably have maxed that.
You level Q first, yeah.
Exactly.
So that means
we'll
you actually have
the
decent disengage at level 1
Indeed.
because you don't take the. If you're going to take the face breaker, you can't take the knuckle down for that extra move speed. Doesn't end up evening out too much. Ninja hitting level 2 pretty early on the Rumble here, trading pretty well into the Azir. Does have some ways to trade pretty well into Azir.
Yes, he does, and of course it does mean there's not that much CS differentials, apart from... Actually, I say that the set has managed to get shoved in on the top side, didn't manage to get a freeze or anything, but has pushed into tower, got that level advantage currently up there, and a bit of a lead for Yuhi on this Misfortune down bot lane.
Hatchemecha is doing the full red side clear, pretty low HP, so probably won't be able to gank into this lane.
Yeah, it would be a touch of risk. I don't know how many pots he's got left, but even so, probably a touch of a difficult one. Is at least at level 3 now, so could definitely pull off a fairly heavy combo. Azir trading back onto Ninja, who at level 3 first here.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this lane is that Azirs have always had this weird kind of choice between the runes they want to take. So when Rune Reforged came out, we did see some stuff like Lethal Tempo. We briefly saw some Conqueror on the preseason kind of patches here. But then we've kind of moved back towards Electrocute, which we did see a little bit when Thunderlords was a thing way back before Runes Reforged came out. And that's what we see again. Helps you take the shorter trades versus these lower ranged lane opponents like Rumble.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sad actually that Thunderlord's Decree got renamed to Electrocute, because Thunderlord's Decree is just significantly cooler as a name.
Thunderlords was also kind of broken.
Oh, it was. It was horrifically broken.
Well, it meant that... So the difference between Electrocute and Thunderlords is that the change for Electrocute meant that you can't you can't use the same ability to proc multiple times, right? So like if you had like a 2-part ability like Civic Q, Ari Q, Echo Q, stuff like that, you wouldn't be able to proc it. And then there was stuff like you could get like multiple soldiers procking it with a single attack. It was just dumb. Like that. It was a very actually I'm not entirely sure about that. But also Q auto does proc the Electrocute for the Azir. It's pretty easy to do. So pretty good damage there. Just jumping forward there with the Essence Flux into the Arcane Shift.
Yeah, just doing a little bit of damage there. Of course, the Essence Flux does go through minions, so you can use that to poke out a little bit through minions in a way that Mystic Shot just doesn't. It's only a little bit of a trade, but currently, that's about it. Nice little trade with the Q auto going on there.
Yeah, that was a really good double up there, actually.
It was indeed. Hatchemecha taking up his Wolf Camp. Is still behind Once, who's once again farming really well on this Lee Sin.
Yeah, although Lee Sin's camps are all down on that side of the map now, so he will have to reset. Jarvan clearing an award here, actually.
Yeah, it does find that ward. That's always a nice touch, but it does mean he was on vision, so they know that he is in that bot side, and Set is going to feel very happy about pushing in. Though Cog is not that far away from the level 6 at this point. When he will have Facebreaker does land, and it's a decent trade back, but of course there is always the chance of the W from Kale bringing her back up to some more HP.
But pretty low mana there. It's if you want to start healing yourself up as Kale, you do run through a lot of mana. It's the same kind of problem as like Nami, famously. Oh, and once misses the Q. There would have been a counter gank from Hachimetra anyway.
Yeah, he would have
Overheat coming in.
Yeah, and that overheat does a lot of damage in return. Of course, Rocky does have the teleport, exactly. So it's not going to be losing too much, but is going to be forced out either way. Ninja on the other side is running the heal. We've seen that a couple times from a couple
Fake
Rumbles
has been running that.
And it does offer some ability, does offer a bit more HP. I can kind of see why you'd run that.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, Rocky briefly thought about buying the Stinger, chose not to, bought Boots and the Phoenix Codex instead. So a bit more AP, still the same amount of CDR, none of the attack speed, but does get the move speed from the Boots which he bought alongside them.
Yeah, and if he is a little bit worried about getting run down by the Rumble, who's going to be burning him alive, I can see where those Boots to keep him ahead of that might be useful, because of course Rumble is running the Predator.
Oh, and you know what he's building first? He's not going towards Leandra, he's going towards Protobell first.
That's very true. So he has early CDR, early damage.
Well, it's not early damage from a Kindle Gem.
Well,
Kindle Gem.
Once the Protobell is complete,
face
then it is a face break, but it is, and Cog is now taking a lot of damage, but is level 6, and Hachimetra is in this bush and ready to counter again, going straight forward. But so much damage from the design. The Divine Justice is there to keep him alive, but Rocky's flashing forward. He's going to get that first blood up here, and Hachimetra is now in no man's land, and suddenly it's all gone wrong. Counter gank is counter ganked.
So that Divine Judgment didn't actually block the Haymaker damage.
Nope.
So that was that was kind of a bit of a useless ult from Cog there. That's not something you really want to see from these Kales, because you know, start as you mean to go on. That's exactly how you do not want to go on.
And that is a 12 odd CS lead up here. Let's look at this replay one more
Knuckle
time.
Down comes in, the move speed comes in, gets the face breaker down. Showstopper back towards the turret, gets a lot of extra distance. Conqueror already stacked up, and then just kind of works towards the run down there, and the Haymaker lands before the Divine Judgment comes in. Bad timing from Cog there. Actually finished off with the dubstep chilling smite there from Once, who does pick up the kill. Very good start for the top jungle once again for Burning Core for the second time today.
And this Kale is once again in a slightly tricky spot. Down CS, down in experience, and
down items.
Down items is like it's all going a little bit. Well, not wrong yet. Of course, Kale does.
It's still pretty wrong. No,
yeah,
I would
still
agree
pretty
with
wrong.
that.
It's still pretty wrong. Like I take my retraction back. I retract the retraction. And as such, I reassert that Burning Core's Ray Farkey is doing nasty things to Kale on the top side, alongside a pretty good roam from the side of Azir.
And this is the thing, right? So the reason you pick Kale into set is that you have a good side lane later into the game. That doesn't include your early lane. Nope, your early lane is pretty bad versus set. As we see, actually,
lots of damage onto Yuhi. Good grief. Vivid and Up putting down a lot of hurt onto that Misfortune, who's desperately needing to back now. Has got heal at least. Or sorry, he's burnt the heal. Has got flash at least.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a heal for Ignite trade in the bot lane. It's actually the bullet time comes in to clear the wave in the bot sides before they can reset. Once actually managing to take the dragon against the run of play, depending on how. Considering how the bot lane was going there, you would have thought that Rascal Jester would be looking towards that dragon. Once with the great timing window, though, to get that dragon away. The first dragon of the game was an Ocean. Can't see what's coming up next, but we'll have
keep
to
an eye
see
on
as
that.
it goes.
But that also means that, of course, as you saw Vivid come across, drop the ward, getting ready to do it, and realised that Once was pretty much done with taking it, and was like, well, guess that's done then. Ray Farkey shoving in once more on this set. Actually Once is doing a very good job on this Lee Sin again. Has had a lot of early impact. Got the Drake, got a couple early kills. Is about to run into
Proud.
Jarvan, but Proud missed. That one's going to feel a bit sad. Times the flag and drag well enough to stay away, but that's a good chilling smite. Rocky's here, throws the Cataclysm. No, he's actually going to survive, gets shoved out of it.
No.
Great kick, but I think he's going to trade his life for it now. Has he got the ward up? No, he's going back in it! This madman, what an amazing Lee Sin player. And what Ninja Flash is
Has he got the Q?
Oh. How on earth did he survive? Some creative problem solving to solve Rocky's slightly unfortunate Emperor's Divide there.
I mean, maybe he should consider renaming himself to Twice, because he just puts 2 in the dumpster there. Gets out alive. 2-0 and 2 on the Lee Sin. Second game today where he's blowing our expectations way, way out of the water here.
Yeah, we knew he was a good early game jungler. We've seen it before. His Gragas, his Xin Zhao, his Lee Sin. He's got it in him. And in this game, let's have a look again. How this happens. So Proud misses the binding.
So, and one says, well, I'll deal with this guy myself. The Black Shield comes through to stop the Ignite there. Has the move speed running there. Rocky shuffles that guy the wrong way somewhat. But the kick comes through. The flying mech decks Jarvan down there, and with the Q already connected onto the Nautilus, runs away and then reactivates for the kill. Ninja has to flash out and to save his own life there.
Yeah, and Godfist Lee Sin definitely proving himself worthy of the montage reel so far. Couple really clean plays from the side of Once. Let's see how we can keep it up. Of course, Lee Sin does fall off a little bit, but currently not going to have to worry about that. He's 2-0-2, got himself the Warrior enchant, has got himself some magical footwear, more than ready to go.
Yeah, I have to say that was very close to being, I'm Azir, I'm helping.
Yeah, I know.
It was almost shuffles Hatchamecha to survival there. Well played by the team of Burning Core to clean up that kill, though. Still coming out as a very good trade. Now they're ending up with a 2.5k gold lead and heading towards Herald, so maybe even increasing after that.
Yeah, and that Stinger is now a Nash's Tooth for the side of the Azir. It's going to be the Trinity Force components being built for the side of the set.
No.
MF has got at least the BF sword, even though she was forced back a little bit frustratingly. But Ezreal doing well. He's got himself CS, has got himself the Sheen and the Tears, so he's at least on track.
Yeah.
And Ninja didn't die, so there's that going for them as well.
Ninja didn't die, did burn Flash, did burn... okay, so he does have his ult available to him, but he burned his Predator. He burned some stuff, but mainly it's the Flash, really. And when you've got such a...
Here we go again. There's the shuffle, there's the knock-in, and Ninja just goes down.
So,
at least the wave is burning, but there is a Rift Herald available. And we said, yeah, at least he's alive. That's not even true
So,
anymore.
about not having that Flash, huh?
Yeah, that's a big one.
That one kind of hurts. It's a really good combo from Rocky and wants to use the Emperor's Divide, shuffle him into the waiting arms of Lee Sin. 2-0 and 3 on the Lee Sin now. 2-0 and 2 for the mid laner of Rocky. This whole mid to top side of the map is falling apart for Rascal Jesters right now.
Yeah, and it is about 3,000 gold lead after that, and it's on to really key people. Like, we're looking at Set looking very happy. We're looking at once again, being a monster on the chat on Lee Sin, and Rocky's Azir. He's lost his victory, he's lost his LeBlanc. He looks pretty content being on Azir, let's be completely honest.
And once, twice now, thrice affecting the game pretty heavily here, and he's building towards the Black Cleaver. And it's good not to have a double Black Cleaver on the same team composition, because you do overstack on the Black Cleaver there. You got the Triforce coming in from the top side, helps you in that 1v1 as the set as well. Triforce, a very efficient item on set.
What comes after? See, I'm not sure what that term would be. Quadrice? I don't know.
You're the guy that technically has a qualification.
I know, like, I can do it with like primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, that kind of route. I don't know where you go with that one. Maybe you just don't. Maybe there is only maybe you can only count to 3.
Oh, one's actually coming in for a kick. Oh, he's actually summoning the Herald.
And that means there's going to be a bit of a shove here. Cog's going to try and back himself away. Once is here, running down, kick into the wall. Cog flashes. He doesn't even use it.
He doesn't have mana for his ult.
Oh, that is tragedy in the top lane. Cog goes down, did not have mana for the ult. Flashed to no avail. It's going to be first turret and all the plates in this top side.
You have no mana, Cog. He doesn't manage to use his ult there. There's actually a teleport. Double teleport coming in for this dragon here.
They don't want to give it up.
And Rocky here. They do not want to give this up, you're right.
But Ninja is here with his equalizer available. They're going
Flash
in on that's a flash with the soul shackle on. Vivid is in trouble. He's getting but it's out of range of the bullet time. And now Ray Farkey's in a bit of a no man's land. He's getting cataclysmed himself. He's going to pay for that. It looked good, but it didn't end well. And that's a good equalizer as well. Rascal Jesters are turning this around. There is a lot of damage, but in the mid lane, Burning Core turning around, taking pressure on this turret, going to take the mid lane.
And I can't help but feel that fight would have gone really, really well if Rocky had chosen to go down bot lane with them. As it stands, Ray Farkey does pass on into the death chamber there for the next 10 seconds. The dragon will go the way of Rascal Jester, as well as that kill, which was picked up by Ninja.
Yeah, and once thinking about going engage, he's got the slow is going in, but there's a divine judgment. Once, buddy, that was a bit rough. And that's going to be his death and a shutdown now onto the side of Vivid, who's going to pick up that gold.
Wow, Nautilus really, really wanted that kill right there. Really useful. At the end of that, though, we still have a 1,600 gold lead for the Azir. It's a 1,300 gold lead for the Set, and it's a 2,000 gold lead for the Lee Sin.
At least, Art is looking pretty strong on this Ezreal. Like, there's something there.
Oh, and even then, he's only even in gold with the Misfortune, though, right?
He's 100 gold up. We'll give him that.
That's even.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
even.
But that's what 2 turrets worth of gold will do for your team. Keeping Misfortune within touching distance of this Ezreal. He's had a pretty strong lane.
Yeah, but for the first time this game, once looked fairly fallible there, went in while the Kayle ult was up. Rocky was not in a position to follow up either. It was a 2v3 in the first place, and it does compound the issue of those last couple of minutes for Burning Core.
Yeah, his mind was telling him no, but his body was telling him yes, and that Lee syndrome struck real hard there.
Absolutely, yeah. And so Rocky, we see going towards the Ludens actually on the second item, built up the Lost Chapter, so that will be coming through at some point. Doing still very well on this is it. And it is worth noting that actually there are a lot of scaling options on Burning Core as well as Rascal Jester. This is not a clean and cut this composition wins at this point in the game. This composition wins at this other point in the game. The Azir will be very good around these objectives. Will be able to threaten the Baron and threaten around the Baron, regardless of which side of the fight
he's walking up. But Hachimesh is in the bush. Doesn't know he's got no flash. That's going to be a very dead Misfortune. Throws down the Make It Rain, but the only thing raining is her tears, and she backs away as once Ward hops out. But that's a decent Ezreal ult to put a little bit of damage onto that Lee Sin.
That's just the incomplete information by Burning Core leading to Yuhi's death. Great job by Hachimesh to work his way into the bot side brush there and get the kill onto the lonely AD carry of Burning Core.
Yep, Misfortune walked too far forwards, had no flash, had no heal, was very easy pickings for a flag and drag combo.
Yep, went too deep and too greedily for that minion wave and is cut down by Hachimesh there on the Jarvan alongside Art on the Ezreal, who has built himself up to 1.5 items, has the Manamune stacking alongside the Sheen in inventory. Looks like with the longsword picked up, will be going towards the Triforce once again on these Ezreals. Not seeing so much Iceborne Gauntlet nowadays.
Yeah, and level 11 ticked over for this Kayle. Ascension is continuing. She's at that point where those Starfire spell blades on that E start doing some pretty good wave clear.
And has the waves as well, right?
Indeed. Yeah.
Has a lot more wave clear. Now, and this is the point where you can start sidelining better against the Set. You don't have the Gunblade yet, and against the Triforce is still very difficult, particularly with the move speed that you build up from killing units on the Triforce. But it does mean that at least Kayle can hold waves at her turret very well, clear waves at her turret very well.
Yes, that's exactly.
Oh, the bind lands.
It does land, but of course it's a root, not a stun. Means the flag and drag allows him to get out.
Okay, no, so it's not quite like that. Normally, a bind does not allow you to use movement abilities.
Of course, but
flag and drag is not coded as a movement ability. It is not. It is a self-displacement, not a dash. So it means that if you are rooted, you can actually do some cool stuff.
Flag and drag out. Well, there you go.
But then we have the Herald being started. Let's talk about more important things for the game. None of this nerdy stuff.
Yeah, that's good. And of course, it makes sense talking about roots keeping you in place, but that means very little right now when we're looking at a Rift Herald contest. Rayfarky has found him, but Vivid has found him, and that means that flank is discovered. Rascal Jester go, yeah, I don't think we want to play when Rayfarky's in such a good spot.
He is in a good spot, and the Herald resets, which means that the steal was not really on the cards there. But we do see them heading towards the
fight. Once, and actually once goes straight. Hachimesh is kicked into the rest of the team, but it's a good stopwatch now. Cataclysm's on top of Yuhi. That's an equalizer on top of him too, but he's dead anyway. Rayfarky now on Ninja. I think he's going to die for it though, and that's a lot of damage now because Art is doing so much work in that backline where the Rumble does finally go down. But Kongkong is getting blown up, and Art is trying desperately, but Rayfarky is too strong. Shut down though for the Kayle somewhere in the middle of that onto the Azir.
Superman play by proud to go in with the Soul Shackles though. Shut down Art, and then Ninja died in the pit for the team as well. It's actually a 4-for-2 at the end of it. A very bloody fight, ending in a 4k gold lead for Burning Core before this Herald's even been taken, which will probably lead to another tower being taken somewhere across the map.
Yes, that's going to be trouble. Of course, the sideway pressure continues. They've got inner turrets that are available to be pressed into. Let's go into this replay and see how on earth this worked out.
Okay, so Rocky uses the Shifting Sands pretty early there. Very important to know that once cancelled Hachimecha's combo with the kick there. Looked like he was traveling in the same direction. It's due to the kick, not due to anything else. Ninja gets carried into the pit by the showstopper by Reifaki and is taken down by Reifaki and Yuhi. But Proud here gets a 3-man soul shackles here. Manages to keep it onto 2 people there as the Kale also goes down to the backline. Art so very, very close to taking down Yuhi there as well. It's almost made himself up to the Triforce after that fight as well. So we'll be only getting more scary as these fights go on.
Yeah, it's about a 3,500 gold lead as a second Drake is picked up by once. It is a Mountain Rift. So no Infernal Drakes, and you're right, that is summoned mid lane. Cog just going to shove in the top side, try and trade onto that. I think Ninja's alone here. Hachimecha is coming in, but he's a little ways off. It's got to be super careful. I think this turret just goes down. Do they try and push for an inhibitor turret?
But Kale is at least trying to trade onto the top side. Has a good amount of attack speed alongside the Gunblade there as well. The charge will come into the tower. They will just about kill it before it gets there. Very close though.
Set pushing in the bot side, so even if Cog trades that top side, I imagine, no, he goes back anyway, that Set will probably take at least half the HP.
Well, I think that if he'd stayed, he would have been picked off by the Azir and the Lee Sin. Yeah. Well timed by Cog there. Doesn't manage to get the tower, but does get a good chunk on it nonetheless. Backs for a Stinger as well, well on the way to that Nash's Tooth, which has, of course, already been built by Azir on the other side of the rift, who's also found a Ludens sitting around in the shop.
Indeed he has, and that was 2 turrets for none in that little exchange. Well played by Burning Core, who are looking stronger and stronger. It was a 3k gold lead. It is now about a 5k. They are looking increasingly in command in this game.
And while we're talking about items, there is a huge item completion for the side of Rascal Jester. There is the 2-item spike of Ezreal with the Triforce completed alongside the fully stacked tier item, the Muramana. Q lands onto Art. We see just from 1 Q there. There's a good amount of damage coming in.
Very
from
fearless.
Ezreal.
That's a decent combo. Massive Emperor's Divide and the shuffles there, but that's so much damage coming through from the Ezreal. And Cog's in the backline. And actually, this one's gone wrong for Burning Core, and they're being chased down.
Ezreal might have an E up as well.
He
lands
does.
The second Q.
And then the Essence Flock is here. Ninja is here with a Predator running shut down onto that Morgana. Or rather, not shut down, just run down, rather.
Battle station operational from this Ezreal here, firing with all cannons available, just wrestles away control of the game and will get them this mid lane turret.
That control that seemed so securely in the hands of Burning Core has just been really, really shaken. Rascal Jester very much online. You're right, it is the 2-item completions. Kale has got a Gunblade, is level 12. There is a lot of damage on that side of Rascal Jester.
And I think that this is the difference between Burning Core when they can get a flank on either the Set or the Lee Sin.
They're going to try and get on Vivid here, but what doesn't die!
And you know what the difference was there? Oh, no, it wasn't Challenging Smite. So the Chilling Smite just does not kill the Nautilus there. That is thin sliver of HP does the Nautilus walk out with there.
Well, that's something, and Once going to feel a little bit frustrated by that. His early game pressure has bought him a Black Cleaver, of course, but he's going to become less and less impactful in terms of just pure damage as this game scales on, whereas things like this Kale are going to be doing a lot of work.
This could be a 2-man back,
they are doing
but they've been seen on a ward.
That pink ward isn't picking up. The radius isn't as big as it used to be, and Hachimecha's in the back, and they don't know it, and Rocky takes a lot of damage. He's on half HP. The Make It Rain slows Vivid down, though, so he won't be making an engage.
That's a tense moment for Burning Core. Very close to starting off that sneak there, and this is another one of those champions alongside the Cassiopeia that can make their way into the pit and start destroying that Baron just with their own damage alone. The thing about Azir, though, is that you can start shuffling over that wall. You can get in through the vision which Rascal Jester might have thought would have been sufficient. They did have the ward in the pit, though, as well, luckily enough. So they did see that Baron being taken 2-man there.
Yeah, and alongside that Triforce and that Muramana is, of course, a quick silver sash for that Ezreal, who's going to be even harder to lock down. So his DPS is going to be pretty good, really hard to shut down in these fights.
Whereas on the other side, Misfortune not finding her way to the Infinity Edge just yet, has the Essence Reaver, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, and it is fairly strong. He's got himself a bounty some way, somehow. I'm guessing just hasn't been shut down and picked up a decent amount of farm in the last few moments, or minutes, I suppose. but that is just, I suppose, target on her head at this point. Is a little bit unsafe when people like Jarvan are so willing to go at her at the minute.
And we've seen a lot of the times in these fights so far, Yuhi has had to be on the back foot, has had the bullet time cancelled once or twice by the Cataclysm or by some wayward CC. And Yuhi has, although had some pretty good team fights so far, not really managed to tear apart them, which we can see occasionally from these misfortunes.
But speaking of people who've had great team fights so far, it is the man of the soul shackles himself, Proud, who's managed to pick up a Shurelia's Reverie to run in even faster into those team fights.
But no Zhonya's.
No
which is important to note, because I think in these next fights, this Morgana can be picked off very, very quickly.
Oh yeah, and Hachimecha is going to find a 1v1 versus the Lee Sin here. It's definitely the side of Once coming out better for that, but it's only a half HP trade, no kills. Once going to back away, having made a bit of a fight statement, I suppose.
Dragon is available, though. This would be the third one for Burning Core. They will definitely want to fight around this.
Once, got to be a bit careful trying to get across this mid wave, as he has to ward hop his way over that wall. Does survive, though, isn't picked off. But doesn't have that ward in inventory right now to be able to use. He's got to control. Well, that's a decent Cataclysm onto Rayfaki. And Equalizer behind is a lot of damage, but no deaths. Decent amount of damage from that Flame Spinner. That's a good hook. But Vivid now stuck in the front line, though. In the middle of all that, Divine Judgment comes down and keeps him alive for now, but doesn't keep his health bar up. Proud throws a binding onto Hachimecha, who does flag and drag using the displacement to get out.
That is every ultimate down from Rascal Jester. That's just before this dragon as well. Rayfaki can regen that HP and TP back in if he so wants to. They will be fighting without any of their big team.
A lot of damage. Don't need anything like ultimates when all you need is mystic shots.
Rayfaki's here.
Proud. No Zhonya's, no life. Rayfaki is in the back lanes on Ninja. It's getting turned around, and here comes Hachimecha. Turns around onto Rayfaki, who's gone too far, too deep. Shut down by Ninja.
Rayfaki's teleport comes in just a little bit too late there. Once might also be in court here. You are right, as Vivid walking down with the mobility beast might try and hop over this ward, but he will be walking to a lot of people.
And Kale is here, and so very ready to turn around the damage, but it's not going to be Kale that's doing the damage because Art is here. Does he make it? I thought that was going to be the Ezreal to kill him, but once problem solves his way out of trouble one more time, but suddenly it's 10 kills to 9. It's only 1,000 gold lead, and Rascal Jesters are back in this game somehow.
They're playing so well around their power spikes. Art just jumping forward like a madman, take on the Lee Sin, who has also had a very good game, but all of this engaged potential from Rascal Jester will come in very handy as these team fights get larger and larger.
And I've got to ask the question, who properly gets on to Art? And yes, there is a Drake picked up by Rascal Jester. It is now 2 Drakes to 2. And that's a big deal. But of course, I do have to ask that question. Who gets onto Art? He's got a QSS, he's got Flash, he's got Arcane Shift. And who's actually going to be able to outscale resistance-wise his damage? We know Ezreal falls off against tanks, but there's a set. That's it.
Oh no, Ezreal can still get absolutely exploded, absolutely destroyed if all of the ultimates land, and that can help when you have a flank. And I think that's what Burning Core have to try and do. They have to try and make this a multi-dimensional flank. But when you have the mobility of Ezreal, that again is quite difficult. And Art has been showing he's very willing to jump into fights, keep himself safe, but also deal out a lot of damage.
Yeah, and we did talk about how Morgana is very squishy. She got blown up by that Ezreal in the last fight. I don't think there's ever going to be a point.
No Zhonya's.
Yeah, and I don't think there's ever going to be a point where she's not going to get blown up by Zhonya's or not.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you manage to flash him with the Soul Shackles after the Arcane Shift is down and there's no flash, well, he still has a QSS, but there are multiple ways that you can try and burn that and keep this Ezreal accountable. They have no vision on the Baron right now, and this could be very dangerous.
Vivid picked up briefly on that ward, but the wave has been taxied into mid. That is a hook missed. Good sidestep by Proud. Rayfaki has found himself a little bit of a flank, but now Burning Core kind of caught off on the wrong side of this wave. Just culling that wave are Rascal Jester, and they're going to push in. Has Rocky got himself up a stun turret? No. Once is here, throwing a Q onto Hachimecha, but that's just it. Yuhi, Rocky, and Once finding their way out through this red side jungle, but they are being chased by Hachimecha and the rest of the Jesters.
So that's ships in the night right there, passing by, but with no collision. The team of Rascal Jester just intercepting that mid wave before it made its way down to the standing inhibitor turret in the mid lane there for the Rascal Jesters.
And Ninja's equalizers are going to be hitting like a truck at the minute. We're looking at double pen plus a Leandries. There's not a lot of magic resist. In fact, there's only just now that I see some Merc Treads. I think, no, it's the Guardian Angel just picked up. Sorry by Lisa, but he's got Merc Treads, and that's it for magic resist right now.
However, on the other side, we have 3 items from the Azir. This is the point where the Azir can start trying to legitimately pentakill the enemy team. He has so much damage. Vivid's caught out!
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of speed up there with the Shurelius. Vivid has got a stone plate, though, and is going to be able to get out scot-free. Just that item burn and just a bit of a health bar trade, but Burning Core just can't find a kill. And nice little combo there to secure and escape at the same time on that skull.
Yeah, and with 40 seconds up on the Mountain Dragon, which will be the third one for either team, the second Mountain Dragon or the third Drake total, but that means that there is no soul to be taken. One of these teams, if they don't feel like they have the correct positioning, might try and back off, as Art once again just chucks out damage, landing onto once there, gets him down to half HP.
Yeah, speaking of carries with 3 items, that binding just about missed. Speaking of carries with 3 items, that is Blade of the Ruin King complete as that third item for Ezreal, who is going to be shredding anybody who is dared to build HP. I'm looking at you, Set. And suddenly that Set, which was kind of running forward with impunity, you have to be a little bit more scared of the Ezreal.
And yeah, so all is quiet once again. We see some posturing once more. The dragon is now live. We'll see who wants to pull the trigger first. It could decide the entire game here as we are even in gold, cresting the 32-minute mark.
And it is such a tight game. It was a great early game by Burning Core. It was a great recovery by the Jesters, and now it is all to play for. And I have no idea who's favoured.
I think right now it depends who gets the engage onto the carries. So you can see a lot of these fights end in a 1-for-1 as the frontliners go down, but it's whether the carries are caught out first. Dragon
We've
hasn't
seen how
started.
tricky
Hook
that's been
lands.
to get onto Art, but there is an engage. That means the Drake is secured, and Hachimecha goes into the backlane. That's a massive, massive haymaker, but once goes down to GA, Cog is alive. That bullet time hits nobody, and Rat Ninja is flashing forward and roasting that misfortune alive.
That's
cannot shove through the Zhonya's. Cog kills Proud, but it is in the end a 2-for-1, and Art is thinking about it. He's going forward. The Arcane Shifter there. Yuhi's on no HP. Did survive the roasting from Ninja. It was a bad shuffle to try and disengage that, but they did walk out alive mostly. But as I say, mostly walked out alive. Set and the Morgana down.
Yeah, it's a 1-for-2 for the side of Rascal Jesters. They get the dragon as well, get themselves onto Drake point, down to Soul point, and yeah. Bit of a cagey affair from both teams here. Once knows he has the GA, wants to try and go for the steal here and at least try and buy some time. Yuhi wants to get some mid priority, but the dragon is already very low by that point. So, we see Hachimecha take the dragon. Well, rather, actually, the Kale does. Hachimecha then immediately goes for the Cataclysm onto the backline of Burning Core while Rayfarki buys time for himself on the other side. And at this point, Yuhi has to flash out and doesn't do much damage for the rest of this fight. So, kind of left for, you see, the bullet time there immediately cancelled as Ninja flashes forward, uses the Zhonya's there to try and buy some more time as Morgana is caught out on the other side. And yeah, it was the Zhonya's which stopped the Emperor's Divide there, although I just think that was a bit of a raw mistiming from Rocky there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. That is pretty huge, and this Kale is level 16. That monster point is here. She's got 2 items. She's close to that third. Burning Core, have you done it? Are you about to give Kale this first win? Proud's in trouble. Proud has nothing, and that Black Shield means nothing versus Ezreal. Another kill for Art, who's 4-1-8, and is once again behind enemy lines and running away from this Ezreal. And Kale is here as well. The 2 monsters on the side of the Jesters, very ready to catch him. Once is here. He's getting 1v1'd by this flipping Ezreal. He's got like no HP. He's going to try and execute the tower. No, does miss that.
Needs to wait another long period of time. It has to be 10 seconds without taking combat damage.
That wave. Hachimecha now caught out by Yuhi, and Rocky does get shoved out of the Cataclysm though, and that's a teleport coming in. Hachimecha does go down. A lot of damage, but it's a trade back by Ninja, and Rayfarki's here. It's going to be a trade for Cog has turned up, and this Kale is so ready. It was a great QSS, and Kale slays Set. 5-3 and 5 on this Kale.
So that's why you take the QSS versus the Set. It does mean you can get out of the showstopper. It's a pretty huge trade up for Rascal Jesters here. Even though it's only a 2 for 3, they're going to get themselves the Baron off the back of it.
Yeah, and of course, once went down finally in that top side. His early game, bot side. It feels like it's the top of the mini map, but yes, I guess where I was getting confused. And he did go down over there eventually, and that means that the Baron is secure for Rascal Jester. And this turnaround is starting to become more and more real. It's 2,000 gold lead for the Jesters now. They have a Baron now, and look at Proud getting caught here. Art caught in a bush off vision.
Doesn't actually catch anyone in the river brush there. Doesn't catch the ward to the side of it either. That's a pretty unfortunate vision plant there. And then once on the wrong side of the fight, tries to hightail it out of there. And is caught trying to do a sneaky recall there as the rest of his team is trying to push up mid.
Yeah, we can see the mechanics on the side of once, but it's just not enough. And then look at fight number 2 that breaks out.
Yeah, it's a good Cataclysm. The Equalizer is down inside of it as well. No flash available to the side of Yuhi. Does manage to trade onto the Jarvan, though, at the end of it. Ray Farkey goes for the showstopper, and his show is stopped prematurely as Ezreal, Art once again showing his mechanics on this champion. Had a fantastic game on this Ezreal. It's really been his show this game, walking forwards with this power spike on the Ezreal. Vivid lands the hook on Ray Farkey.
Yeah, he does, and Ray Farkey now taking a fair amount of damage. And I told you that those Ezreal Qs were going to start hurting. Ray Farkey got a stone plate, but I don't think it's enough. And once goes into the backline and goes straight to the death chamber. And Ray Farkey is so dead low. And look at the amount of damage from Art. It doesn't matter if Kale's dead because okay too. Waki turns around. Art went too deep, too far, too aggressive, and he's gone.
That's actually a pretty big godsend for the side of Burning Core there. Managed to trade up there again. Once traded in for Cog and Art. I'd take that any day of the week. That's a pretty good yard sale.
And Rocky has teleported in behind. He's going to try and stop the retreat of Rascal Jester. And of course, the Mountain Drake
out here.
Mountain Drake is spawning in 10. Is he going to try and back, or is he going to try and take the Drake?
I think he doesn't see the vision there. Hatchemecha will now be spotted on this pink ward. They know exactly where he is. Rocky is huge on this Azir. Had 1,000 gold shutdown. 7, 2, and 6 on the Azir. Has a death cap. Has a voice staff. Has plenty of AP to go alongside that. Just besides those items as well.
He's building towards a Spellbinder. He's got a second needlessly large rod.
He is going for raw AP. Trying to go for this huge electrocute proc alongside the Ludens as well. We saw what happened to Art when he dived into him. And now, I mean, the late game show is here. It's 38 minutes in. All of these carries doing a lot of damage.
Kale versus Azir. We've got a Ezreal versus a Misfortune, and it's all to play for. It's a 1,000 gold lead, if that. I was talking like the turnaround was starting to become a little inevitable, and Burning Core quickly shut down my narrative arc. They came in and defended what was a very hypey engage in that mid lane inhibitor turret.
And now both teams on 3 dragons, none of them have the soul yet. We've seen very early Elder Dragons in the past. Not today. We have 6 dragons before the 7th spawns, which could go the one way, could go the way of either team. Although I'm not sure that a Mountain Soul will actually affect the game that much.
Neither am I, to be completely honest with you. Oh man, I'm not even sure where to look. I suppose I think Kale is going to be better at pushing in a side lane, and that might be some pressure. I don't think Set can sit in a side lane versus her anymore, so that's an option for Rascal Jester.
I think that you have to bring 3 people to kill the Kale now. They all
she's
have
got
to
Rage
have
Blade.
CC.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the QSS. That is a big thing, as opposed to Art, who, as we have seen, has the ability to disengage the Set pretty well. Vivid walking forwards there with the Kale speed up, which it comes from the W, which is quite important in a couple of these fights. If you're walking forward with Moby's active and the Kale speed as well, can mean you cover a lot of ground compared to your opponents.
That Celestial Blessing is a very powerful tool with all that AP behind it. She's just picked up a Zhonya's as well, just to make killing her even harder. Double invulnerabilities on herself, should she so wish to self-ult.
Yeah, and now the question. So, diving into a little bit more on the Azir. The Azir has a very important choice now. Do you want to be backline or do you want to dive? Because you have all the consistent damage in the world, But if your front line is losing to the enemy front line, sometimes you need to be a bit more disruptive. If you can catch a lot of the team in a shuffle, it means that obviously they are CC'd and they can't damage you back. But if Art manages to shift away and then kill you with all of his items as well, it has 4.5 items, building towards which might be either a GA or a Bloodthirster with that BF sword in inventory, means that Rocky has to have a lot of important decisions in these fights.
Yes, completely agree. And it is going to be a big cause because actually, with that amount of AP, the shuffle will be massive bursts.
Oh, yeah,
well,
absolutely.
actually.
And with the electrocute as well, that is, if you choose to hit the first target, they could just be deleted from your first combo.
And I suppose if you are going towards the Spellbinder, you pop that for the additional move speed and AP, that shuffle probably becomes a pretty enticing option for that Azir.
I wonder if he sells that. I actually would really quite like a Morellonomicon now. I would genuinely quite like
Oh, really? I suppose versus
yeah.
the Kale healing, it's a big deal.
That's the thing. I think versus the Kale, versus
and
the
Bloodthirster.
triple life steal from Art.
Yeah.
I think that because you're dealing so much AoE damage, that would be quite nice. And the flat penetration goes a long way.
There are no grievous wounds on the side of Burning Core right now.
They are not. I think it is quite important, this game in particular.
Misfortune, at the very least, could do with thinking about one as her last item, just so her bullet time can spread it across the team.
Yeah, that might be worth thinking about. But then obviously you have to open up with it before any of the burst comes in.
Yeah.
Range for that. A whole lot of stuff you have to think about there.
Indeed, and Baron is spawning in 20 seconds, and it's 41 minutes in the game, and we are no closer to working out who on earth is going to win this game.
It's a very tense affair.
Ray Farkey is in behind people, thought he was looking for a flank, and is currently being herded towards the base. Can he even find a back? Does he think they know where he is?
So
they
they've
finally
seen him on
spotted
turret
him.
there.
They're going towards him now. Is this going to be it? Has Ray Farkey got himself caught out?
They can't afford to chase him too far, though, because with the Azir, this Baron is very, very squishy. This Baron could go down in less than 10 seconds if they set up correctly for it.
Yeah, and Misfortune is not exactly shy on damage at this point either. Definitely a threat, but of course, if Rascal Jester get left alone with the Baron, that Kale will shred it.
Is looking for a flank here.
Onto a minion, not quite enough. I mean, he could taxi to it, but it would have been a bad idea.
So, the other thing is that with the QSS available for Ezreal, we can have the QSS flash away from the Lee Kick or from the set Showstopper as well. Art is not necessarily the best target now to try and kick until that QSS is down.
And of course, there is a Mountain Soul that will be available in 30 seconds. Well, you were saying earlier you don't think it would decide the game, but if it's just that edge that would tip this game one way or another, I could see it
starting the Baron.
But look how quickly they're shredding it. I called Cog on this Kale. This lane
going
is
very
going
quickly.
to destroy it, and it is. Baron Nashor is being
Bullet
destroyed.
time.
Bullet time trying to steal it. It's going to be taken. It's by the side of Rascal Jester. They're cleaning. They're trying to disengage now. Second Baron for that team.
I can't help but think with a good bullet time there, they might wanted to have tried to take the fight there, but they're looking for the Mountain Soul instead. Ezreal and Cog teleport back in.
They are here. They are ready to play. There is all the damage in the world. Look at that Bloodthirster shield. Imagine a Mountain Drake shield on top of it. But Burning Core aren't going to let it go quietly. We have both teams posturing on either end of the
Ninja's
river.
pushing mid.
He's just trying to get some of that mid control, because if they do win the fight afterwards, they can end it if the wave is going down. That's a bind onto Vivid, but he's got his shield and is fine by now.
The dangerous thing here is that Cog, if he is allowed to hit the mountain, will come into the fight with a fully stacked Rage Blade. That's a lot of damage
Look
available.
at Ray Farkey. He's trying to come in from behind. He's on a ward, though. He's known to be spotted, and Cog is straight forward. And Hachimecha's turning onto him. They're all turning onto him. Ray Farkey has got nothing to keep him alive right now. He is on a 3rd HP and is suddenly not really believing. And suddenly Proud is just gone. No Zonya's no life. Ray Farkey's going to die as well. That equalizer splits the whole team. It's a double kill for Art, who is our monster. Going to have that divine judgment on top of him as well. It's a 5v3, and I think the Jesters might just have done it. They're going to claim it. Wants to try to go in. Going to try and stop Hachimecha. He's going with it! But it's going to be not enough. His life is traded for it. Is that soul going to be worth another death? I don't think it is. I think the Jesters are going to try and end while it's gone. Have they got the waves? They've still got Azir. They've still got Misfortune.
They still have the Baron buff. They still have the Baron buff.
And that Sun Turret's coming up just to buy more time. Is it enough? Do they have enough wave clear to keep themselves alive in this game?
Azir has wave clear, but he doesn't necessarily have the safety to walk up to a lot of these turrets. With the Sorcerer's Elixir as well on the Kale, this is going to be a lot of damage to these turrets.
And only now are we seeing a stopwatch picked up by Morgana. She's got one, but I think it might be too late. They're pushing on these inhibitor towers. But Proud's here. He's got to bind onto Hachimecha, but again, we've talked about that displacement. Yuhi is desperate to put some damage down, but I don't think you want to walk into it. The Jesters have to back away. They've got an inhibitor at least.
Art is still trying to fish around. around. It has the Bloodthirster to heal back up. Has 3 lifesteal items to heal back up. We did see the full Morellonomicon picked up for Rocky, actually, as I was talking about. It is a good purchase at this stage in the game with so much healing available. This has been such a tense affair.
Yes, it is. Never mind a Spellbinder. That needlessly large rod was just for raw AP, and he has heard the wisdom of your words. He's gone for the grievous wounds, but look at the sort of the jungle and support for the side of Burning Core from like 2, 1, and 5 or whatever it was for Lee Sin to now 2, 5, and 7. It's a 0, 5, and
Proud?
8 Morgana. She's becoming the target for all of this engage. That late stopwatch pickup might have cost them this game.
The stopwatch has meant that Proud didn't have Zhonya's available for earlier team fights. That's definitely something which we need to talk about, and we'll probably talk about in the post-game, regardless of how this game goes. We now see almost full items on all the carries of this game.
It's a QSS on the Kayle as
which
well.
is a perfect buy, because you do want to be able to work yourself out of those bindings, which Morgana can occasionally catch you in, and it allows you to QSS Zhonya's as well, if you really need to buy yourself a lot of time in these team fights.
Yeah, and of course, the Baron not available yet. Won't be for a number of minutes. But this game is 5,000 gold in the favor of Rascal Jester, but item slots are beginning to get considerably full, and the carries are largely at full build. There are supports and stuff to get there. There is just Misfortune yet to complete an item in that last slot, but otherwise, look at the side of the Ezreal, the Rumble, that Kayle. They are so close to being
then, of course,
very strong.
The Azir. We just see Chunk out there with one soldier hitting onto the Jarvan. The bullet time used defensively for wave clear once again.
Yeah, it's not on the longest cooldown this late into the game, and I can understand wanting to stop the pressure coming through. Not afraid of a Baron fight anytime soon, so makes some sense to me. But Kayle now switching to the mid lane. Yeah, it is going to shove in, and I think it might start taking towers if the Jesters don't get there to combat it. They don't have teleports available, though, so I think they're a bit leery of going back to claim that wave.
Yes, they are. As you just got a slight... Is that the stress causing the hiccups there?
Yeah, apparently so.
Rocky just taking a good chunk out of Art there, who also takes a good chunk out of the tower. We have talked about the Sorcerer's Elixir, which was picked up earlier. I think that's just on the Kayle there. I mean, I actually don't know whether that's the skin or the Elixir there. But a lot of damage coming through to these towers. Everyone in the game nearing those later game levels. Everyone has their last ults available to them. Rank 3.
Bind onto Vivid. They're going to engage, but I'm not sure you want to go into the It's a flash kick onto Ninja, but he's got a Zhonya's. Just Proto Belt straight back out, and now once it has to go golden in the backline. And that's an equalizer in return that's doing so much work. And goodbye, Ray Farkey. We knew you well. He's got a haymaker.
Bullet time.
Maybe it was a fantastic bullet time. We knew you better than we thought, because he's still alive, and his bullet times do monstrous damage this late in the game.
Yeah, so it's another defensive ult from the Azir there. Doesn't actually get too much work done, and everyone walks out alive one way or another. Stopwatch, but for once there in that team fight, does somewhat save his hide.
Yeah, but that means that flash engage from the Lee Sin is not available, and to no gain once more.
Yeah, is this going to be another crazy 57-minute game, do you reckon?
This is pretty late. Significantly more exciting, that last 57-minute game. This one has been a tense affair of back and forths and largely pretty good plays. There's been some dumb positioning spam. I want to not to call out players too much, but I do think Proud has been caught out sometimes by unfortunate vision plants. Calling misfortunate when misfortune in the game is perhaps a little bit too on the nose.
So Baron started again.
It's on a ward. It's not being caught out. Look just beyond that blue buff. It is there. Burning Core know this is happening.
Vivid has a good position here.
He does, and he's going to find a way, but it's a good spot by Rocky. Throws that Sound Shoulder, but it's claimed again. That's third Baron over to the side of the Jesters. And Ray Farkey's in the back lane, but he's so isolated, and he's dead. Kayle picks that one up, and Vivid is still on the flank, and now it is a 5v4. Elder Drake spawns in a minute, but is that going to be too late? Burning Core going to have to try and disengage now.
Well, things are Ray Farkey's going to be dead for 20 seconds between the Elder spawning and his revival. So he won't be able to TP in for the very start of the fight. And it looks like Burning Core are actually being corralled a bit down here to the bottom side of the map.
They're desperately trying to recall. Fortunately for them, at least, the Jesters didn't have any waves pushing, but Hachimecha has gone forwards, and suddenly this team is trying to run away. Remember, Ray Farkey does have teleport. if they can wait until he's up. They can
They've
teleport
got
in
a
and be
long
here
time to
together.
wait.
They do indeed, and they're just running around in circles, but they're continuing to be chased. What is this? Like, ridiculous chase. Yuhi now in a 1v1 versus Ninja, but that's a decent deal. The depth charge forces the flash out, but that's a fantastic divine judgment into the Cataclysm. So much damage.
Oh,
Yuhi
damage.
across the wall. Kog'Kog flashes in. This Gale is truly ascended. The angel is here and ready to show some divine judgment. Once it's going to go down as well. It's 3 for none, and the Jesters have finally found it. It's 50 minutes on the clock, and I don't think
But
Burning
Rocky
Core
is still alive.
Is it going to be enough? Can the Emperor stand before the wrath of the heavens? Let's find out. I don't think they can. There's a Baron buff to their name. There's a teleport to their name, and there is no team behind Rocky.
But Rocky does have a lot of damage here, and there are some low health bars. Kog'Kog has no ult for the time being, but they do have the Baron buff. I'm not sure this will be the end of the game.
That's
just yet.
another equalizer up, though, and they're going to keep going.
They're
The
gonna go
towers are
anyway.
down. They can't stop it. Azir's going in, but it's not going to be enough. The shot. So much damage, but the Dexter's tower is dead. The health bar is dead. The Jesters do it.
And the game ends at just under 51 minutes, rounding out our games for the day. Post-match thoughts, more like, I don't know, man, I'm just shell-shocked from that.
That was honestly just so insane. We've had 2 50-minute games this week, complete polar opposites in how they went. One was sort of kind of resident sleeper. This one was Pog Champ every 5 minutes. I was on the edge of my seat. So many fights, so many just moments. It could have gone either way. Just Rascal Jester were able to grind that game out. Get that Kale to the absurd level where Kale can literally 1v5.
1v5.
And oh my god, Art on the Ezreal was putting out
Really good
so much damage. And it was so hard to pick. When you've got an Ezreal, when you've got a Kayle, actually getting a kill is incredibly difficult. Burning Core tried their hardest, but GG, well played to both teams. But congratulations to Rascal Jester on that
Absolutely.
pickup and stopping Burning Core on their win streak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they break the winning streak.
They do.
there.
And like actually for once again had a fantastic early game. It's like his
Did.
Jin's Out game all over again. Was styling all over everybody, then got a little bit hypey, got caught a couple times, and suddenly Rascal Jester were back in the game. And from there it was so damn tight. Burning Core had every reason to win that game early on. Every reason. And they kind of threw it away.
They just
Yeah,
weren't
there was
able to
some-
capitalize, really.
There were some unwise decisions, particularly the first big turnaround was when they kind of fought very close to the ruin of the mid-inner turret of Rascal
Yeah.
Jester. And then they kind of got ran down with Art on his Ezreal, finally reaching those power spikes, doing a lot of damage, continually jumping forward, with nothing really to stop him at that point.
No.
And like, I want to give some massive credit to players like Art, who probably had the AD carry performance of the week by far. That was a
up there.
monstrous
It's up
game.
there, yeah.
So much work done, and even things like Kog'Kog, after having a very difficult early game, got a lot of pressure put onto him, came in later and was starting to do some mad damage on that Kale, flashing
We
forwards.
love the flash forwards.
True sort of apocalyptic revelation style angels coming in, 6 wings ahoy, swords glaring with their starfire, and some good stuff coming out there. Real epic poetry, battles of Troy type endings to that game.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think it's worth shouting out everyone on Rascal Jester this game, really, because I think that Ninja, he had a better day. He had a really good week this week. We asked to see more from him. He showed us more. Congrats. We don't flame people without giving them a way out, and Ninja played really well today on the Rumble. He affected so many team fights. The Jarvan Rumble Cataclysm Equalizer combo worked out wonders. You know, there's one time where it effectively just one-shot Yuhi because he was stuck inside the Equalizer for the entirety of it.
Does help having Hachimecha as the jungler.
Yeah, it
I mean,
does.
having
Great
an absurdly strong jungler just
Absolutely.
on a great
And even though
pick like that.
Hachimecha had an off early game because once, as we were saying, had such a good game, this guy was so key in these team fights. His cataclysms were very good. He was getting a lot of knockups onto a lot of different people and was just not dying as well. And on the same note as that, actually, Vivid had a really good game on the Nautilus. He had
That flash hook by the dragon.
He had several flash hooks. He had a lot of ults onto key people, and he played his role very well. So,
Really did.
congrats, Rascal Jesters. We wanted to see more out of you. We wanted to see you take some big names. We saw you take down CGA, and they took down Burning Core on the win streak. This is a big name to take.
Massively. And that's the power of experience, right? That like you can go down in that early game and still have the nerves and steel yourself to bring you back into that game. That is one of the more storied rosters in the LJL right now, and that experience really shone through. They knew how to get themselves back into that game, found the right fight, scaled well, and brought out the game. It was close. Like, don't get me wrong. Those later moments, those 20, 30 minutes at the end were so damn tight. But they played it really well, and all kudos to them.
And I think it's worth me doing a very quick roundup. Again, congratulations to Burning Core and all the teams that have won matches, and commiserations to those that lost. A quick roundup for week 4. Axis went 1-1 this week. We saw V3 rather, sadly going 0-2. We saw Sengoku actually going 2-0, and the Hawks also went 1-1. And as we just saw, Burning Core went 1-1. We saw CGA actually going 0-2, while Detonation Focus Me happened to go 2-0. And the Jesters, as we saw, were able to round it out and show very strong at the end that they are still a team to not count out, and went 1-1. It's been an amazing week so far. Have either of you got any closing thoughts for this week?
The Jesters continue to turn up versus the top of the table. Like, once again, it was a competitive game versus DFM, like one of the more competitive games we've seen versus that team. And against Burning Core again, like, this was a team that was looking damn good suddenly, and the Jesters brought them back down to earth a little bit there.
Yeah, whereas I think Axe's also on the up and up. They continue to impress, continue to draft really well. I'm worried for V3.
Yeah.
I think that V3 don't know where they're carrying through. I think that they are struggling in their drafts, and that shows in their gameplay as well. Whereas I feel like DFM, Indomitable, no one's really going to take them down, particularly when the challenges we would look to in the likes of the Hawks, Sengoku, CGA, they all seem to still be having teething issues. Sengoku went 2-0 this week. It didn't feel like it.
No,
they had to work for it. They worked very hard for it. Congrats for getting the 2-0, but we do need to see some cleaner play if we want to see you tussle with the best of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, with playoffs on the horizon, something like a kind of shrug your shoulders happen to get through one game for a 2-0. In playoffs, that doesn't really carry you very far. One win while
doing it over a best of 5 is hard.
But it might carry them into playoffs, which is perhaps more important at this point. And like,
true.
If you get there, you've got everything to play for. And at the minute, those playoff berths are wide open.
Yep.
Like, I think we must have like 5 teams at 4-4, 4 teams at 4-4 at this point.
There's a lot.
Like, the only team that is like anywhere near guaranteed a position is DFM. Like, still don't think they're entirely.
They are actually now guaranteed, even if they happen to lose the rest of their games. I did the math before coming on because I thought it would be important. As they are 7-0, even if they lose 7 games in a row, because that's the amount left in this season. Before playoffs, rather they're 8-0, my bad, so they are 8-0. If they happen to lose all 8 games, they will still qualify because they will be at minimum middle of the pack, because Burning Core, Crest, the Hawks, and Sengoku are all 4-4. So it is actually, they can go down to middle of the pack, but they cannot be dropped out because V3 and Axis and Jester all have 5 losses. So they are a lock now. But everyone else is still to play for, and V3 definitely, V3, as you said, Nymera, looking very sketchy right now, concerning, and not where I think any of us were really expecting them to be.
No, we weren't. And actually, a massive congratulations to Detonation Focus Me, who have locked themselves into playoff. It's only halfway through the split. The rest of the teams have been fighting it out, and they have been cleanly showing why they have won the LJL so many times.
It's like everyone beats everyone, and in the end, DFM wins. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. With that in mind, thank you so much for watching so far. The LJL, officially unofficial, is completely fan-run. Myself, Nymera, and Initialize, we do everything that you see here. Literally from the casting to notes to any of stuff like getting people to help us with graphics to literally everything. We all do it ourselves. It's all off our own back. We are a fan-run thing, and we are nothing to do with Riot Games. It is important that we do put that out there at some point, because is a thing that...
Gotta reiterate.
Gotta reiterate that for Riot's sake, because if anybody gets the idea that we're being paid by them, we can potentially get sued. Which we're not.
Yes, that would be great.
Well,
you guys want
it would definitely be in our Twitter handles if we were. We'd be like, woohoo! But I went a bit too excited there. But
you of all people getting too excited now, I don't believe it.
Sure. But with that in mind, thank you so much for watching. We will be back in a few days, actually, from now with week 5 of the LJL. Lots to play for still. Obviously, playoffs now are going to be a constant narrative for us, so it's going to be exciting. But I've been Alex, otherwise known as Lexi. I go by Master1 on the internet. I've obviously been joined by Alex Hapgood and Samuel Hapgood, or Sam Hapgood, respectively Nymera and Initialize. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely rest of your day.